Good evening to everybody, and thank you so much for attending this call today. I know it's a midweek, 7:30 in the evening may not be a very uh, right time for people, but I think this session is going to help us unwind and help us learn something new. And with us, we have Royston Braganza, who is going to take us through this session, which is going to be a real to real session. Royston is a banker by profession. But I recently learned that he's got these entrepreneurial instincts. He's got these skills which has led him to take up a job in 2007 with Grameen Capital. And today he manages as the CEO and he manages the all India operations. Grameen Capital is part of the global Grameen family of companies. It's a flagship brand for a Nobel Prize winning Grameen Bank founded by the Nobel laureate Professor Mohammad Yunus. I call him a banker because he's got a past experience of working with HSBC Bank at the level of an SVP, and he's also worked with Citibank and various other assignments across the consumer and the corporate banking space. Um, Royston has won and has been acknowledged globally for a lot of his contribution. He's also been named as the top 4 CEOs in Asia. He's a very passionate orator and has been invited at several international forums, which also includes the G20 summit, as well as recently the United Nations General Assembly in September last year. Royston's life doesn't stop with just corporate and just a 9 to 5 and just doing the professional bit. He does a lot of service for the church and contributes to the ministry of the Lord as well, and which overflows and abounds with his service and dedication to the church ministries. To name a few of the things that he's contributing in is he's currently a member of the Archdiocesan Proclamation Commission. He's also a youth animator. He is a confirmation animator. He's also a mentor at the Take Charge diocesan level program. He has recently been featured as a Catholic Achiever of the Communication Cell by the Archdiocese of Bombay. He's also an animator of the Christ Cafe. He's a Eucharistic minister, which also helps him to reach out to people, to the homebound. He is pioneered the Food Kitchen initiative in St. Teresa's, which now is widely replicated in most other parishes today. He's also launched a very popular series called Soul Wash, a Soul Wash series, which was innovated. He conceptualized the whole thing, which was played in 2020 and 2021. And I personally have been a person who has received the inputs on Soul Wash, which is very interesting. Royston, thank you so much for doing this session, as Father Savio mentioned earlier. Thank you so much for being here. I know you've got your hands tied with so many other assignments and projects, but thank you for making the time for doing this for us.
It's my pleasure, and it's always good to be with young people. I often remember that line which says the young people are not the future, but they are the present.
That's true.
And the present is a gift. So gift to the society, gift to business, gift to the economy, gift to the church. So it energizes us, and it's always a pleasure. So thank you for having me here.
Great, that's fantastic. Royston, before we begin our conversation on what we're really going to talk, we are in the church, in the church scenario. What do you think? How can the church today, in today's times, reinvent and brand itself differently?
So I think maybe, first of all, we should look at what really is brand building and what are the elements that will go into that. And probably we can take towards the end this aspect of how can the church look at itself. Once we've seen the learnings for the day, maybe we can try and summarize it by also seeing how the church can brand itself. But probably just to, give a quick, brief answer to that would be the point of relevance. I think one of the challenges that the church had even before COVID was being relevant to young people. And a lot of studies across the world, and especially by Pew Research. I don't know if you've been familiar with Pew Research. It's PEW, very famous, very professional run research globally, but mostly of the Western churches. But Pew Research threw up that about 70 to 80% of people, find the church not relevant. They do, struggle with the concept of church, of religion. And Bishop Robert Barron talks about the fastest growing religion is something called the nuns, not the religious nuns, but the NONES. So when you fill up your form in the US or Canada, and you have to say I'm a Hindu or a Christian or a Muslim or none, and the fastest growing religion today among young people is none. People who say that we don't have any sort of religious inclination. They may be spiritual and they will see different paths probably to assess and get in touch with their inner being. But in terms of religion, they choose none. And therefore, it's important for the church to look at how is she being relevant. And if you go back to the most basic understanding of church, the church is mother. And therefore, everyone knows how relevant mother is. But in some sense, we seem to have got lost in probably in too much of structure or too much of rigidity or too much of ritual that we have not been able to keep abreast in terms of communicating and being relevant. And therefore, whether you talk about the church or you talk about a corporate or you talk about an individual, the key is always, how am I relevant? And from that, and we can talk about branding oneself and talk about repositioning and reimagining. But the key is first to know, what are your strengths and how are those relevant? So we'll come back to the question of church as we try and tie it all together. But thanks for that introduction. And I must tell the people, who are on this group, 40 plus of you, that Sarah herself is extremely accomplished, an HR professional, currently, I think, with Disney, and earlier, been in the HR line, productions, musical, communications, catechesis, music. So it's not that I'm going to allow only you to ask all the questions, but I'm going to throw some back at you. So that this really is a conversation, and we try and learn from each other as we go along.
Thanks, Royston, and thanks for pushing me to do this. So yeah, okay, thank you. Royston, like I mentioned in your introduction of your whole startup nature, where do you think the current opportunities for us youngsters lie today? Where is it? Where is that? Where do we kind of pinpoint and see, okay, this is where I should possibly aim at looking, in terms of the market, in terms of the business scenarios?
Warren Buffett, during the global financial crisis, used a line, and I think it's a line that probably Churchill used earlier, which said, never waste a good crisis. And I think that line is really powerful because a lot of us sort of scramble around trying to deal with the issues at hand in terms of reactively trying to be able to manage in the crisis. And yet there is an opportunity that is hidden. And just yesterday, my friend Bernard, whom you know well, Sarah, and I were chatting about the various obstacles that are there in life. And he said this line, which really struck me: when obstacles become opportunities. And I think what he paraphrased is exactly what Warren Buffett talks about. Can we see, when we evaluate businesses, we are told to look at challenges and opportunities in a SWOT analysis. But I want to say, look at challenges as opportunities, not and opportunities, but challenges as opportunities. Because in a challenge, people are running away. And if you can run towards that with a very clear, specific goal and with an aim, then you become, really well positioned in that. And look at Swiggy, look at Zomato. I mean, the fact that they've been able to grab by the horns this opportunity during COVID, food distribution, delivery at home, Flipkart, Amazon again, we're seeing this ability to reinvent. We're seeing doctors now reinvent to telemedicine. We're seeing lawyers reinvent to teleservices. We're seeing churches reinvent to online masses. Things, my mother at 82 is now, having Zoom meetings and Zoom piano classes and Zoom senior citizens and Zoom housing and Zoom. So the fact is that there are tremendous opportunities that are there. Of course, there are tremendous challenges as well. I mean, entire industries, aviation, tourism, hospitality, transport, logistics wiped out. Literally in the last, 12 months, we've seen a whole set of industries getting a body blow. And yet, within that same context, you look at healthcare, look at pharmaceuticals, look at agriculture, look at horticulture, look at financial services, look at IT. All of these are booming. So, is there an opportunity hidden in the challenge? And therefore, how do I use that opportunity to really brand myself? How do I really beef up my presence? So that's sort of the answer for now, and let's sort of unpack that a little
Yeah,
more.
yes. But Royston, with these opportunities, maybe I am not completely skilled to enter a specific industry that is booming. I am possibly in an industry where I am not, which is possibly got really hit by the pandemic. Uh, so, what do you think I need to do? How do I kind of reskill myself, and how important it is for me today to reskill to suit the market environment in today's time?
So branding is an interesting aspect. But I remember when we were studying, marketing in the MBA, one of the things that we were constantly said is, you can't be all sizzle and no steak. And that's it's a cool line because it's not all about flash in the pan and jazz. There has to be real substance. There has to be the real beef. And so how do we beef up our online presence? How do we beef up our CV? How do we beef up our communication? All of these are critical. And so I've created an acronym for beef up, and I'm going to go through each of those steps, which I think are important for us. So the B is really to be the brand. You really own the brand. You become the brand. You create for yourself a certain aura. So when Steve Jobs, the black turtleneck pullover became synonymous with Steve Jobs, or the white or black T-shirt, with Simon Cowell when he's doing his music show. So, or the T-shirt and jeans with Mark Zuckerberg. How do you become synonymous with something? How do I know that if I want someone to do, music, then this is, I need to go to, this studio. Or if I want someone who's looking at catering, I need to go to this place. Or if I want someone who's looking at Zumba, then I need to go here. So how do I become synonymous or the go-to person? When we were, an earlier generation, if anyone wanted a choreographer, you were a Saroj Khan. Today, it may be Danny or maybe someone else. But how do you become the go-to person? How do you become the brand? How do you be the brand is absolutely critical. So that's the B. The next is to establish an online presence. Today, it's very easy. Earlier, it was just about how do you go and meet face-to-face, knock on doors, make calls. But today, because of the power of technology, because of LinkedIn, because of the ability to create your own YouTube page, your own blog, your own channel, there's so much of potential to really establish that online presence. And so, an easy way to check, Aaron is on this call, or Bevan on the call, or Julie. If you just type Beryl Lobo, what comes up, Beryl? Is it saying what you are known for? Because today, if you apply for a job, Leanne's going to go to a company, and the company is going to ask Leanne what she does and who she is. And as soon as Leanne leaves the meeting, they're going to Google Leanne and see, is what she's saying really online? Is her digital footprint really backing up what she has said? And so it's important for us to be able to put out there the messaging that reinforces the brand persona that we want to create. And if there is dissonance, then you have an issue, because very clearly the three C's, of building the brand, are credibility, clarity, and the ability to build character. And so, is your brand credible? Is your brand building character? Is your brand consistent? And therefore, that online presence has to back that up. You can't just, say Cecil Correa says I'm a great musician, but then if I type Cecil Correa and I get nothing coming up on YouTube that he has done, then I'm beginning to doubt what I'm hearing. Whereas if Cecil sort of just says I'm a musician and is very polite about it, but then I go online and I find some really mind-blowing stuff out there, then it reinforces what he has said, and it makes decision making a lot easier. And so that ability to build brand presence build an online presence is extremely critical. So that the B is to be the brand, the E is to establish that online presence, the third E is to expand your network. Some of us are very comfortable in our ghettos, and especially in the Catholic community, it's a tragedy that most of our friends on Facebook are Catholic, most of our people on our WhatsApp groups are Catholic, most of the people we hang out with are Catholic, and yet we are only 3% of the population. So we are missing a trick. There's something wrong, correct? I mean, why are we not ready to be risk takers? Why do we like that comfort zone that we want to be sitting in and allowing ourselves to get buffered in, and therefore we're not able to break out of a certain mold. And when we were young, okay, so I was a complete misfit because I did not smoke, I did not drink, I didn't play sports, and I didn't do music. I didn't play an instrument. And everyone thought this guy's weird, right? And he wanted to study further, and I didn't want to become a shifty, and I didn't want to, join, but the fact is that we are challenged by the environment and by our ambitions to really push ourselves. And there's tremendous potential. So why are we so, and we're not short of role models in this digital age. Probably 30 years ago, we were short of role models. So, what we saw in our church circles, what we saw around us defined, okay, I'll become a secretary, I'll become an aerospace because, they're getting a big salary, they're traveling so much. We saw the good things about certain roles, and so people wanted those. But today, it's all out there in cyberspace. You can see, all potential, all opportunities. Today, a 10-year-old knows more than me, because they're following YouTubers and they're following, people on Insta and watching reels. And therefore, that exposure gives them much more insight into expanding their network. So the third E is to expand your network, to look beyond the traditional networks that you have and force yourself. I mean, for a year, I insisted to myself that I will not accept Facebook friends who are Catholic unless I had 2x or 3x of that as non-Christians as my friends. And I'm telling them, sort of open challenge to this group as well. Look at your Facebook or your Insta, Snapchat, and most of the groups that we have will be church groups and friends groups and school groups, but the people we're close to will tend to be. There's no harm in being close to Catholics, but let's push ourselves. We are called to be salt of the earth. We are called to be leaven in the dough. So we need to be able to shine and make our light shine everywhere. So that again is an opportunity. And the Holy Spirit, we celebrated Pentecost, gives us that, right? The apostles were earlier closed doors. And then post-Pentecost, they went everywhere to the ends of the earth. For some reason, we have become closed door again. And so we need to push ourselves, establish our online presence, expand our network. Since Leanne is so faithfully taking down the notes, I'm going to ask you, Leanne, to expand the B up later. But the B is, Leanne, you want to tell us what is the BEE so far?
Yeah, I actually wanted to share because I can actually give you a practical example rather than going through what you just spoke. Just 2 weeks back, I started a project on Instagram called Mindful Petals that focuses on spirituality, art, and sustainability. So I can actually share that project with you all.
Awesome. You can put it in the chat.
Absolutely, yes.
Awesome. But can you also tell
Yes.
us what is the VEE so far?
So you spoke about branding and BEEF, right? I just wrote down
So
the
far we've done
credibility,
BEE.
clarity,
Okay.
character, but
Okay. So
branding,
the
um,
branding, establishing an
yes,
online presence,
establishing, yeah, and
and expanding your network. So those were the three
yes,
we've done so
expanding.
far. So far we've talked about branding, we've talked about establishing an online presence and expanding the network. The F is the need to build a feedback loop. It's very critical that we are getting feedback from people, from others, from those who are watching us saying, is my branding working? Very often we think that we've got a cool idea, but we need to get honest feedback from others. And therefore, it's not necessarily feedback from people who are going to give us only positive strokes. We need to be able to get critical feedback. It's also good to have a mentor, especially young people. One of the challenges again in India is that we don't have a good mentoring culture. Just today, someone who was a vice president in a large multinational wrote to me saying, can you be my mentor? And I was very touched. I didn't even know the person. They got to know about me from somewhere. But everywhere, and again, as a church, we should be encouraging our people to have spiritual directors. So whether it's in the corporate world to find a mentor, in your personal life to find a spiritual director, it's critical, because otherwise we will burn out. Otherwise we will get frustrated. But the ability for us to find a sounding board, to check with someone, and there are so many accomplished professionals, that are willing to help out. People are incredibly supportive and helpful. So get a feedback loop going to see how am I doing. Am I doing the right thing? Am I positioning myself well? Because just because everyone's doing Zumba classes online need not be that's my best way forward. Or just because everyone's doing some programming or building something in AI or doing something in blockchain need not be the best way forward. So create a feedback loop to check that in. The U is uniquely position or reposition yourself. So based on that feedback, how do I reposition myself? Amazon was a brick and mortar building selling books. You had Barnes and Noble and you had Amazon, and then Amazon started beyond books and beyond. And today it's the largest company, and Jeff Bezos is the richest man, or probably now his wife has taken half of it. But the fact is that you need to keep repositioning yourself if you want to stay relevant, which comes back to your first question about church. Unless the church cannot do what she did 2000 years ago or 800 years ago or even 50 years ago and be relevant. It is, what do my children need today? The church as mother has to be constantly open to the Spirit, open to seeing what, and the Spirit is always fresh. The Spirit is always new. So how am I making myself new? How am I making myself fresh? Is the opportunity that is being opened up for us. And the last P is prayer. It's important for us to realize that, as the scripture says, unless the Lord builds the house, the laborers labor in vain. I know this is not meant to be a spiritual talk, but it's unfortunate if we give up something that's so powerful in helping us to make the right choice. We can think about it as much as we want, and we can be intellectual about it and say, this is my career path, this is my career progression. But if you invite the Lord in and be humble and allow His grace to work, there is no reason, and I keep saying this constantly, and that's probably because I've seen the hand of God work in my corporate world and in my career, that He's not just God of Sundays. He's God of work days as well and weekdays as well. And unfortunately, we make God as God of Sundays. And so Sunday I go for mass and my church duties, and that's my God fit. And then if I'm prayer group person, then I go for my prayer meeting and throw my hands up. And again, He's God of that prayer group, or He's God of my morning prayer, or He's God of my night prayer. No, He's not. He's God of everything. And so He's God of your work day, and He's God of your board meeting, and He's God of your football game, and He's God of your band practice. And I think that's important for us to realize, because otherwise we're letting go of a huge powerhouse of potential by partnering with God. There's that song which says, "Great things happen when God mixes with us." And that great thing is also in our workplace. So let's open ourselves. Prayer need not be saying one rosary or 15 Hail Marys or even two. It's not. And again, there prayer is just being in God's presence, inviting Him, saying, "Come, Holy Spirit." 3-word prayer. That's all we need to do. Just open yourself to God's potential working through you and your potential working through God, and let that unlock. So, Candy, can you give us the whole beef up?
Yeah, so branding, when you spoke about, you want me to explain it or just give the
No,
highlights?
just give us the acronym, just the key word. What does beef up stand for?
Branding, establishment, exposure, feedback.
And the up is unique positioning, and P is prayer. So you have to beef up. That's the whole acronym, but maybe someone can type it on the chat and others can use it later. But Sarah, let me ask you a question about LinkedIn and some of the other tools. As an HR professional, how do you recommend some of our young people here use these tools to be able to accentuate their career?
LinkedIn, of course, is one, I would say, a powerful network where you're able to connect with professionals. Now, it's not that simple to use LinkedIn by just going and connecting with people. When you want to connect with people on LinkedIn, it's nice to leave them a chat, leave them a short why you're interested in this person's profile. It's good to also get your things to the profile that you want to be. So if I want to be an HR director someday, or if I want to be the CEO of a company someday, I would follow those kind of people. I normally do it as a practice in the time I want to invest in myself. I go and read up on people's achievements. I go and read up on people's education qualifications. I read up on the activities that they do on a regular basis to themselves get brand themselves in the market. That really helps to kind of get ideas of how you want to move forward in your career, how you would want to look ahead in terms of planning a little bit more in your career and in your professional life. So when it comes to LinkedIn, it's nice to be connected with people where you want to project yourself and move forward. Your profile needs to spell out like Royston mentioned earlier. On social media today, you need to write the content of what you want to say very clearly out there, because a lot of people approach you from via LinkedIn. Not only LinkedIn today, Instagram is another very powerful tool for marketing, so a very powerful tool for building a brand for yourself. There's so many influencers out there who are establishing themselves. That's kind of become a new career for a lot of people, being a social media influencer today. If you know to use social media, you can be an influencer, but you can also earn a little bit of a little bit of money. I would say, wouldn't say much. But so Instagram can also be utilized in a manner where you are able to project yourself, sell your business if you have, create a new business idea, create a community of people, and then make a connection and upgrade yourself that level where you would want to meet people and network with them. As Royston has very effectively pointed out, networking with people, expanding your network of people, which is so essential. You just can't sit to, okay, I know you from the church community, and so I'm going to send you a friend request, or I'm going to send you a LinkedIn connect. You need to move out and send people outside your network, outside your narrow viewpoint of meeting people, to expand it to a broader horizon. Well, today LinkedIn and Instagram may not be the only profiles that we have. We have, things like a bigsite.com. I'll write that on the chat after I finish. These are profiles, these are websites where you can make on your own. It's a very simple way of doing it. You make a website, you host your entire profile, you host your education qualifications, host your articles, and you just need to paste that link onto your feed. It is as simple as people knowing about you, knowing your whole other side of the whole creative side of you, the whole personal side of you can also come well in these websites. So, for a tech person, people who are in the data science field, AI field, you have these sites called GitHub. I'll also put that later. So these sites are different ways of projecting yourself on social media today. It's no more just a page of a resume. It's no more just a one page and a two pager that you show to get yourself noticed. Today, there's a lot in terms of on social media. There are different ways, not only LinkedIn, not only Insta, but there are these other sites as well where you can project yourself in a very creative manner. And I don't know, Royston, but the whole fact of only projecting a professional side, or does it really help to also project your personal side? Me being creative. I don't
That's
know
a
whether.
great question. I mean, I'm thinking of the Japanese ikigai, and I don't know if many of you have read the book. It's now become quite a huge bestseller. But it has 4 questions in it. Let me put on the chat so you can see them. I mean, some of you can turn your cameras on, it'll be fine, because then at least we can have someone to interact with and know. But it's fine if you're not comfortable. But the questions that they ask are, what do you love? What do I love? What am I good at? What can I be paid for? What does the world need? And so to Sarah's question, is it only my personal side? Is it only my business side? No, it's not. But if I'm able to find how do I find the confluence of these 4? Because if I can find something that I love, that I'm good at, and that I can become the go-to for. I like that phrase in the Bible which says, "Go to Joseph." He was famous, right? In the Old Testament, the Joseph was famous for, go to him if you want grain. In the New Testament, go to Joseph if you want a good carpenter. But the fact is, you want a good fisherman, go to Peter. You want a good doctor, go to Luke. What is the go-to for Reina? What is she go-to for in her religious community? If someone wants someone that is really good with young people, go to Reina. Someone wants someone who's really good at doctors, go to somewhere. Someone wants really good at music, go here. You want someone who's really good at cricket, go to Jemima, go to Kohli. The fact is, you need to become the go-to for something. So you should be loving it. You should be good at it. You should be able to be paid for it. There's no point otherwise saying it's not sustainable. If I can't generate income, keep my family going, keep myself going, then really it doesn't help. And then what does the world need? What's the point if I'm a great musician? I love music. I can get a lot of money for it, but I'm sitting on an island where there's no one to listen to me. So what does the world need? So right now, what does the world need? The world needs people to get rid of mental health issues. The world needs someone to make sure their food is reaching their house. Someone needs certain amount of quality check to be done. They need vaccines. So suddenly we're finding young people who are creating business opportunities, saying, I can take an old person to a vaccine center. I will help them to find an online thing. I'm sitting up from 2 a.m. till 5 a.m. when BMC opens up a few slots, and I'm able to go and block one, because it's a big challenge to find a vaccination slot. And so there's a business model some have created that you pay me $100 to register on my site, and I will, pick you up from home. I will find you a vaccination slot and bring you back. Some are doing it out of the goodness of their heart as helping society. So in that process, my own brother has started this. He's a musician and started this thing called Jukebox Jammies, where he sings every night online. He's had a million views on some of his music. Carlton Braganza, you can look him up. He is singing tonight at 9:30 as well. But the fact is, how do I reposition myself by doing something that I love, something that I'm good at, that I can be paid for, and that the world needs? So that confluence is what the Japanese call the ikigai, or in simple English, what's my purpose?
Yep.
Each of us has a purpose. There's no point trying to force it just because today, talking about big data, machine learning, artificial intelligence, and I have to build an algorithm that predicts something. No, I may be an artist. I may be a painter. And in my art, I'm being able to communicate brilliantly, and there are people who are ready to pay for my art, then let me just be a great artist. So spend time on this. This is not something I can sit in 10 minutes and say, okay, I'm good at this, I'm good at. I would say those of you who are, whatever, 30, 40 of you who are here, if 10 of you are serious about how do I reinvent myself, then spend Saturday, Sunday, and keep 2 days aside and take these 4 questions and sit for 4 hours on each question and put them down. The word is ikigai. Putting it down on the chat. You can Google it. There are many tools. And put it together.
I've got the book.
You got the book. Okay, so where the confluence comes in. Okay, and the confluence of these 4 circles then gives you a sense of what could be that repositioning that you are called to do. But don't forget the beef up, and within that, don't forget the P of prayer, because finally the purpose that you have is the one that God has given you. So you can sit and try and run in the opposite direction like Jonah, and finally one whale will come and swallow you up and bring you back to the purpose God has for you. So you can find the path of least resistance, which is prayer, and say, God, I'm opening my life to you. Guide me through your spirit, what I should do. Or you can say, God, I don't give a damn what you say. This is what I like. This is what my friends are doing. So I'm going to do it. And then you'll be so unhappy over a period of time that you would come back to his path. So that choice is yours. Both journeys are fine because finally all ends with him. But in that path of least resistance, where you are open to the Holy Spirit, you will find joy right through that process. Or you can struggle and find your way back. But that's the gift of freedom that he's given us. So he's an amazing God. He gives us that entire freedom and doesn't curtail it because of love. But allow yourself, and prayer is not something for pious old Catholic aunties. It is something for everyone, because prayer is not words. It's not about how many rosaries. It's not about how many times you lifted your hands and said, hallelujah, praise the Lord. We've got it. I mean, I'm saying this and I know there are priests and nuns here, but unfortunately, sometimes we've got it all wrong. Prayer is about knowing God and God knowing us deep in our hearts. And even if you don't say a word, it doesn't matter. St. Teresa of Lisieux said, I looked at him and he looked at me. That is prayer. So in that process, I'm challenging you to do that for 4 hours on each of these 4 questions. And out of the 4 hours, take half an hour just being quiet in God's presence and see whether what you are currently doing also. So how do I build sustainable business models? How do I build green business models? How do I build more efficient business models? How do I build more fuel efficient business models? How do I build more data driven models? So those are where the world is opening up opportunities. Cryptocurrency is going through the roof. Bitcoins are going through the roof. Blockchain is going through the roof. Am I able to do those? Not everyone should run there because it's there, but allow yourself to read, to learn, to study. Again, my take on the Catholic community, unfortunately, is that not too many watch the news, not too many enjoy politics, and then we are all cribbing about the political leadership. Now that's pathetic, right? Either you join politics and then crib you have the right to, or you think politics is crap, it's terrible, I don't want to be part of it, then you have no right to crib and complain. So be engaged in the process. Be engaged in the process. Look at Prashant Kishore. Incredible reinvention of himself. He's the strategist to help Mamata Banerjee now win the election. Okay. Look at Harsha Bogle's cricket commentary. He's never played a single cricket match, and yet he's one of the best. So there is nothing that is a limitation. That's the human potential. Incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
Great things happen when God mixes with us.
That's true. So that reminds me of the fact that we need to align, or rather pray when we are at prayer, when we are at these 4 hours of we seek the Holy Spirit to help us align with His thoughts. So let my wishes align with yours, and then you find kind of a breakthrough into where the Lord leads you to. Because we can't keep him in isolation, but he is, like you said, mixed into everything that we do today. So truly. We need that. But Royston, we've kind of covered these up. In all of these, what we really need is to kind of break through a particular person or if I want to go to a mentor, if I need a mentor, how do I kind of start these kind of conversations? Many of us shy back. Many of us don't, approach people just because, or we approach, but then we do it the wrong way. Uh, how do I kind of have these quality conversations with people? How do I begin to have a quality conversation with people?
I think you made the point earlier of authenticity. I think that's critical because, today, as I said earlier, there's too much of sizzle and no steak. And it's about, every flash, and it's no more. COVID has done away with that.
Yeah.
Now it's all about substance. There's going to be massive retrenchment. There's going to be massive job loss. If there isn't already, it's on the way. It's about 3 years away from a full-time recovery. That recovery, again, is going to be very different. The new world order is very different. The geopolitical situation is changing. China is looking at a very different. Right now, most of the debt is owed to China. We don't even realize the type of geopolitical mix that's going to happen post-COVID. There's a rearrangement going on in the US. We may not even have one country, which is the US. We may have 50 countries, which are each state in the US. That's the type of civil unrest the US is seeing as a strong undercurrent after the Trump regime. So there are great changes happening. China owns half of Africa. We don't even hear this because people are so happy among themselves in their own cocoon that we don't realize what's happening. China, I was talking to some geopolitical experts when I was speaking at the United Nations. And again, it's God's grace. I mean, I am just like you, one member of a parish committee of St. Peter's Braganza. And when I was invited to speak at the UN General Assembly in the UN, I just realized the awesome God we have, because it's nothing to do with me. It's not possible. But it is Him. And therefore, there is no reason why, Bevan or Melissa or Leanne or Fiona or Julie or Renee can't be in the same spot, because we all have the same Abba Father. So the point is that authenticity, to open up a conversation with someone and say, listen, I need help. This is the area that I think, I'm feeling called towards. But don't do it as a shortcut. Again, in this community, we think everything is a shortcut. I know someone knows someone, so I will go there and ask you, and you give me a favor and you give me a job, and then that's the end of it. No, it's not about finding a job. It's about finding your purpose. It's about finding that call and then keeping on reinventing yourself. McKinsey comes out with this report called Reimagining India. And every year they come out with new reports saying Reimagining India. And it's the same way. Bevan has to ask himself every year, how do I reimagine Bevan next year? And Beryl has to ask herself, how do I reimagine Bevan? I know Bree is doing that constantly, and congrats on your new VP-ship in Citibank. But the fact is that each one of us is called to say, how am I reimagining myself for the next year? And right now we have an opportunity in front of us. How am I reimagining myself post-COVID?
That's correct.
Because there is an enormous opportunity. There is $30 trillion of liquidity floating around. 14 trillion by the US, 10 trillion by the EU, 5 trillion by Japan. This is flush funds that are just flushing around the continent, which is why our stock markets are booming where they are. So whether you look at poverty numbers, whether you look at unemployment numbers, whether you look at potential numbers, India is right up there. So we are sitting in that opportunity right now. All 35 of us, you have an opportunity in the workplace. Someone else has an opportunity in the teaching facility. Someone has an opportunity in the music world. Someone has an opportunity in the food world. Someone has an opportunity in the agriculture world. There are just an enormous amount, as long as we break the boundaries that are there in our mind and say, how, Holy Spirit, are you giving me a new way to be church? How are you giving me a new way to be a musician? How are you giving me a new way to be a banker? How are you giving me a new way? That's how our founder won the Nobel Peace Prize. He started a bank for the poorest of the poor. Every bank that existed had to have security, collateral, reference, someone to introduce, someone to repay. And he said, I'm going to start a bank where none of these are taken. I take no collateral, no reference, no introduction, no cash collateral, no security. Because I will give a loan and say to the poorest of the poor and say, start some business. And so he challenges us, which is why he encourages us to speak to young people. Say, tell young people not to be job seekers, but to be job givers. start your own company. You don't have to chase people to give you a job. That's the system that has messed it up for us. That we are made to think, okay, I need to find a job. I need to find a high paying job. I need to find a cushy job. I need to find a job that will be with me for 40 years. Nonsense. We need to create companies that are giving jobs to others. We need to be entrepreneurial. We need to be able to build businesses. Where is it? 10 years ago, there was not even mention, there didn't exist WhatsApp. There didn't exist Airbnb. There didn't exist the things today that are common. And yet the world's biggest hotel line today doesn't own the hotel, Airbnb. The world's biggest car company today doesn't own a single car, Uber. The world's biggest data company doesn't create any data content of its own, Facebook. It's all other people's content. So the fact is, the world is getting reimagined in front of our eyes. This is the best generation that ever existed in terms of not needing a godfather, not needing bags of ancestral money. You can create and build, and the sky is the limit because of the digital revolution. So the opportunity is yours. You can sit and watch pornography for 20 hours a day, which is what many of our young people are doing. And that's an opportunity. That's the free will that you've been given by God. And that's one way of using technology. The choice is yours.
Fantastically put, Royston. That's very true. I think in all, what we need to do is invest our time in research. Also, it's the point of you visioning where you want to be, with your whole passion and purpose and how you want to move forward in your career, want to move forward in your life ahead. Not everything will go as planned, and if you look ahead in terms of your journey, and if you watch out for your passion and purpose, I think it's the end result is being happy and being of service to using your purposes well in the opportunities that you are given. Yeah. So, Royston, would you want to give us any? I think we're almost in 1 hour. So, would you want to give us some kind of parting note, any kind of message to the ones who are listening to you?
I'm happy to take a question or two if there are any that are coming from.
Can you give us few suggestions on how to fund a small business?
So there are three options in the traditional world. They say friends, family, and fools. The ones who give you money when you start up on a dream normally are either friends or family or fools. All three exist currently in India. There is also the fourth, which are new angel investors. So there is Mumbai Angels, there is the Angel Investing Network, there is an Indian Angels Forum. We are not as evolved as the Bay Area right now. So if you go to the Bay Area right now, you go to Berkeley or you go to San Fran, even in the coffee shops, they have investors floating around because young people are sitting in the coffee shops and Starbucks and making business plans. So that's the hunger to find new places to invest. There is tremendous amount of money available globally to invest in bright ideas, but not just bright ideas, but something that's different. And so that ikigai is critical. They need to know why your idea should make sense, why you doing that idea makes sense, who is ready to pay for that idea, and what problem does it solve for, and why does the world need it. So you need to go very clearly with a strong business plan. You need to make a good business proposition, but most importantly, what they call key man and the key man or the key woman who's driving it. So they invest in the person and not the business in the early stage. Later, when you go to the venture capital round or the private equity round or this, Series B, Series C, Series D, then you're talking business models, profitability, cash flow analysis, all of that. But in your seed stage funding, it's people who know you, people who trust you, or some investors who are angel investors who see a very strong passion in you and a problem-solving ability.
Thank you so much for the fantastic response that each of you have given. And I wouldn't want to really repeat the points that Royston mentioned, but definitely go with your passion. Reach out for the opportunities that lie ahead. And the first and foremost is, of course, figure your passion and purpose and bring it up to the Lord in prayer. And that's where what will take you forward in life. Royston, thank you so much on behalf of St. Anthony's Church, Vakola, and everybody around who are attending this session. It was truly enjoyable, very knowledgeable, and of course, I think we look forward to some more sessions if we ever come back to you again. Don't block my number now. You can possibly have some more conversations on this. So thank you so much, Royston, and thank you everybody to be part of the session.
Bye. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.